tell everyone your name, how old you are, and 3 quick facts about yourself.
I'm Eliza, I'm 18, and 3 facts is a lot of facts. I love reading, especially non-fiction books. I love bike riding, and I have 3 older sisters and 2 brothers-in-law who are both called Daniel.
Dream job and why?
I really want to be a doctor, especially a surgeon, and my dream is to go to the Israeli army and be a surgeon, but I don't think that will ever happen because it kind of combines all the things I love, which is adventures and helping people.
What type of surgeon?
I'm not really sure, but maybe pediatrics, I don't know, I'll see. First have to get in.
So can you give us a brief overview about what Friendship Circle is about?
Yeah, so pretty much it's an organisation that run weekly programs as well as holiday programs and a bunch of other programs for kids and young adults with special needs within the Jewish community. And yeah, they have a range of things. They have things for their siblings, for their parents, and then of course there's weekly programs every Sunday, and during the holidays there's a 1-week program as well.
What initially drew you to this organisation?
To be honest, I was thinking about how I spend so much time on myself, and there's 7 times 24 hours in a week, 168 hours in a week, and I spend the whole time literally doing stuff for myself, even including sleeping and going to school and everything, and that I can spend 2 hours on someone else. And so I found actually a video on Facebook which I watched, which was really awesome, and one of my friends was in it who I hadn't spoken to in years, and I remember seeing him be oh, maybe I can join, and yeah.
What do you recall about your first day, and how did you feel?
I was really, really excited more than anything, but then when I got there and I didn't really know anyone and I was much more intimidated, I hadn't really had any experience with people with special needs, and it was really quite scary for while I was waiting for my person, the person that I was buddied with to arrive. But then once they arrived, it was the best time and I loved it. And I was with someone else, another volunteer, because it was my first time, and sometimes they have 2-on-1 care. And I remember the other person was really nice, and she'd been doing it for a while, and she kind of just told me this is going to be the best thing you ever do. And I remember thinking that's a bit probably a bit out of proportion, but she was right, it's so amazing.
Can you describe a typical Sunday?
Yeah, so most weeks it's 10:30 till 12, and they have some sort of activity. It's usually at St Kilda Shul, and they'll have an activity, whether it's a science thing or animation stuff, and so each person's buddied with either one person or 2 volunteers to one person with special needs, one buddy, and you get there a bit before them, and then they arrive, and you kind of just bring them in. There's a bit of time to just have fun. It's really nice. One of my favorite times when everyone's arriving, and the kid will know who you are, and they'll come and give you a hug and be so excited, and that's really a nice time. And then you just you do your activity, and then there'll usually also be arts and crafts and some other fun stuff to do. And yeah.
Do you have the same buddy consistently?
No, so it changes every week. You find out on about Thursday who you're buddied with, but then I think when you first start, you're kind of with not random people, but a bunch of different people. But often you'll find you'll end up being with the same few people, or you'll kind of find your niche in it. So some people are really good with girls, some people are better with boys, younger, older, whatever it is. But yeah.
Because Sundays, as you said, are 1 or 2-on-1 interactions with the kids, how do you find, or what do you find most challenging, and also what do you find most rewarding?
I'll start with most challenging, because I'll move into most rewarding. So I'd say sometimes when you're with someone new, you don't know too much about them, and you don't know really what they'll respond well to and what they will respond poorly to. Luckily there's staff, and if you have any questions, they know everything about all the kids, so it's really helpful. But sometimes even just in the first 5 minutes, there's some people who it's they'll get there and you won't know what to do, and like it's quite hard. Some kids don't really want to engage in the activities, and that's often quite challenging. But I think no matter who you're with and how much experience you have, you just kind of sometimes you just need a bit of like creative thinking and to get them engaged, or at least just having fun. And most rewarding, I'd say, is just seeing like all the kids smiling, and just like that it's a space where it's not like school, but it's also not like their home. It's somewhere where it's literally like the name of Friendship Circle. I didn't really think about this for quite a while, but it literally is a friendship circle for these kids who otherwise really don't have that sort of space where they come and they hang out with, like, some of them go to school together as well, but it's a really different feeling when you come and your only aim is to like have the most fun as possible, and I think that's really rewarding.
So who's also there on a Sunday with people, with the buddies and with the volunteers?
Yeah, so there's the buddies, there's volunteers, and then there's about approximately 5 staff members, and then there's also like whoever's running the activity will be there, and that's pretty much it. For all the like big Chagim, they'll have a family day, so like the siblings will come and a couple parents will stay, which is also really nice. And there's usually just like arts and crafts, and sometimes there's big or small things. Yeah.
So how has Friendship Circle changed your life?
Firstly, it's the best, like it's almost always the highlight of my week. Like it's just, so this is more on like a smaller scale, like it's just something where I go and I don't think about anything else other than like being at Friendship Circle, and you're 100% in the moment, and that's really nice. And I think it's just a great break. Like I know as like being at Friendship Circle year 10, 11 and 12 definitely hasn't been like the least stressful years of my life, so being able to like have a time out, that's definitely something. And then also just in terms of from the kids, I've learned so much, and also the volunteers, or whether it's like, it's a bit hard to like say like tangibly what it is, but I think a big thing is like gratitude and like appreciating the small things. Like I know, like for example, a lot of the time we'll go bowling and your buddy will get a strike, and it's literally like the best feeling in the world, and like you weren't even the one to score the strike, but you just like love it, and now they're so happy, and everyone just is supporting everyone. And I think that's something that is really like individual in to a Friendship Circle, and also just that you can like then take into your whole life and, I don't know, start appreciating the small things.
So what characteristics do you think a good like volunteer needs?
A good volunteer, I think, first of all, like be like passionate and happy, and like really like encouraging and excited and genuinely like want to be there, I think is really important. And just open-minded, because I think often when you're with someone who you've never been with before, which obviously if you're new is most people, you can be almost like a bit more like hesitant and more nervous, which is obviously perfectly normal, and I think everyone feels that. But to like, you should recognize that like you can have a relationship with literally any of the people there, and the last person who you might expect to get on well with is you'll probably get on the best with. Like, just need to be open-minded.
Where do you see yourself taking the many skills and even values that you've gained from Friendship Circle?
I think definitely like they apply to almost everything in life, whether it's like the more like, I guess, so like hard skills like communication and thinking ahead is definitely something that you learn. Like if your buddy doesn't go to the toilet before you get on the bus, then you'll probably have an issue when you're on the bus and they need to go to the toilet. But then there's also like more soft things like compassion and care and being open-minded, like what I've spoken about a lot, which comes into play with everything, and especially for me wanting to be a doctor, but no matter, even if you want to be a salesperson, it's important.
What motivates you to be so active within the community?
I think there's a number of things. Firstly, definitely they've given so much to me. Like I've gone to Bialik since I was 3 years old. I don't know, just all my friends pretty much, all my family are all part of the Jewish community. I've seen the things they've done, like as, I don't know, family members have gotten older and there's been Jewish care for them, or just literally whatever it is. I know like, and like some people who's like have had family members who have passed away in the Jewish community have like cooked for them and stuff like that, and I think this is a way to ensure that I'm like consistently giving back. And I think often we talk a lot about like the value of tikkun olam and the value of like caring for others, but it's really hard to like make sure that you're doing that in your everyday life. So by having like a set time where like, okay, Sunday mornings are like time for friendship circle, that's time to give back, motivates me a lot. But then
What could you say to other people who just feel intimidated to put themselves in a foreign situation, whether it be volunteering or anything in general?
I think you should 100% like that feeling is like recognize, yeah, I am nervous, but like think about what is the worst possibility and what's the best possibility. And I think if you try to like take the emotion out of it and look at it in a very rational way where like, okay, the worst thing is like I go to something or I do something and I hate it and I never do it again, or the best thing is like I go and it's great and I do that for the rest of my life and I found like my passion or whatever it is, like I think it's worth taking the risk.
During your involvement and like clearly your genuine passion towards Tikkun Olam, what is the most like potent issue that you see in the world?
I think there's a big discrepancy between like what we talk about and what we do in terms of tikkun, like if it's maybe not in the world, but like in terms of tikkun olam, like I think especially within the Jewish community, we pride ourselves on like giving back and like this value that we claim is like part of our religion, but then we maybe like donate to JNF or like donate to like one thing, and then we never like actually get out there. It's never like actually a part of your life, even if, and like I don't know, something massive to Judaism is like saying Modani in the morning, but like okay, you're so grateful, you're taking so much, but what are you doing to like prove that you're grateful? What are you doing to, you know?
How do you think Bialik and its community can change or better their attitude towards volunteering?
Well, I think one thing that I always find really interesting is often, not to like single this person out because I think it's a reflection of the culture of our whole community, but often Harry Velleman will like say it's so important to get involved, you should be in the youth movement playing sport, but I think if we add to that list, you should be volunteering.